Welcome to the deep dive. You know, there's this beautiful old Chinese saying, "Shangling Dian Tang, Xia Yu Sang."
Ah, yes. Above there is heaven.
Below there is Suzhou and Hangzhou.
Right. And for ages, Hangzhou over in eastern China was famous for exactly that, just stunning scenery, really rich culture.
Truly a beautiful place, historically.
But what's kind of blown me away recently, and maybe you too, is how it's completely transformed. People are calling it China's Silicon Valley now.
That comparison comes up a lot.
And this is where it gets super interesting for our deep dive today. It's where DeepSeek comes from, this AI company that's, well, frankly, stunned a lot of foreign competitors lately with its capabilities.
It really made waves, didn't it? Quite suddenly, it felt like.
Totally. So our mission today is basically to unpack that. What is it about Hangzhou specifically that makes it such fertile ground for these groundbreaking tech firms? Is DeepSeek like a one-off amazing thing, or is it maybe a sign of more to come from there? We want to dig into what makes Hangzhou tick. And what we'll explore is how Hangzhou has cultivated this really unique ecosystem for innovation. It feels different even when you compare it to other big tech hubs in China.
How so? Different in what way?
Well, it's this blend, history, a certain kind of forward-looking culture, and a really distinct way of encouraging tech development. I'm keen to sort of dissect those pieces.
Okay, let's dive into DeepSeek itself then. Its rise was incredibly fast, right? And it feels like it's taking up more news space, sometimes even more than giants like ChatGPT.
It's definitely captured attention.
Yeah, and I heard this great story, an anecdote from a parent using it. They said it was a total game changer because, and this is the quote, "It understands Chinese questions, Chinese thinking."
Ah, that's fascinating.
Just resonated differently, more deeply than other AIs they'd tried.
And that's really the core of it, I think, that cultural resonance you just mentioned. That's what's so interesting here. DeepSeek's success, it definitely surprised a lot of people globally. And it just highlights how fast things are moving in China's tech sector, but also how specific it can be. It's not just about raw power. It's that DeepSeek was trained so intensely on Chinese data, Chinese culture.
So it gets the nuances, idioms, history, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Things that models trained mainly on Western data might just miss. That gives it a real edge in its home market.
And it really is homegrown, isn't it? It came directly out of Hangzhou. How much of its success is tied to that place?
Oh, I think it's critical. You can't really separate DeepSeek from the specific environment in Hangzhou. It's absolutely a product of that fertile ground. Its whole development story is wrapped up in the city's innovation culture.
Right, because it's not just DeepSeek from Hangzhou, is it? I mean, the most famous example is Alibaba. Jack Ma started it there.
It's giant. Yeah, Hangzhou definitely has this history now, a track record as a hub for tech innovation in China.
So it's not just a recent thing.
Not at all. And beyond the big names, it's also just a pleasant place. But when you visit, you really feel how deeply tech is woven into everyday life.
Like how?
Well, I remember seeing things like facial recognition for toilet paper dispensers at the train station.
Wait, really? For toilet paper?
Yeah, to cut down on waste, apparently. And robot-run hotels. It's not just gimmicks. It signals this deep, almost subconscious focus on tech and practical uses for it.
Okay, facial recognition toilet paper.
Right.
That's memorable. But it does make your point. Tech is just there. Now, thinking about the mood, I remember a few years back, maybe 2020, 2021, there was that big regulatory crackdown. It hit tech companies, Alibaba included.
That definitely happened. A period of adjustment.
Yeah, I felt like a pause, maybe. Has that optimism, that pioneering spirit you described, fully bounced back now? What's the feeling on the ground?
That's a really important question. And yes, there was absolutely that speed bump, let's call it. Tech leaders like Jack Ma became much less visible for a while. It created some uncertainty, no doubt.
Understandably.
But the mood now feels distinctly more positive. Just this past February, there was this very public meeting, high-profile tech bosses, Jack Ma included, meeting with China's representatives.
It felt pretty symbolic, like a realignment, signaling that innovation is back on the agenda, maybe within a clearer framework, but definitely encouraged.
And wasn't Liang Wenfeng, DeepSeek's founder, also at that meeting?
He was shaking hands with officials. It felt like a statement about companies like DeepSeek and this renewed focus on homegrown innovation.
And Liang actually studied AI right there in Hangzhou, didn't he?
He did. Which brings us neatly to another huge piece of the puzzle. Zhejiang University. ZJU.
his alma mater.
Exactly. I spent some time there trying to understand its role because Hangzhou, unlike maybe some other places where innovation feels very top-down, government-driven, Hangzhou feels much more bottom-up.
Organic.
Okay, bottom-up. That sounds key. So ZJU, what makes it such an engine? What's special about it?
It's got this really unique culture. Their motto is Qiu Shi Tuangshen,
Which means?
seek truth and innovate. And unlike a lot of traditional Chinese universities, which might focus purely on theory or guiding grads into government jobs, ZJU really pushes entrepreneurship, commercializing ideas.
Could you give an example?
Sure. I met an undergrad there, Wang Tu, a materials science student, already running a company developing biomaterials for faster wound healing.
Wow, as an undergrad.
Yeah. And he was very clear. You need industry, you need to apply things, not just do research in a vacuum. That attitude seems quite common there. And their research output is just staggering. ZJU publishes more scientific papers than any other university globally.
Globally, more than anyone.
Globally. And according to the Leiden ranking, they're second only to Harvard for papers in the top 10% of their fields. It's this potent mix, top-tier research, plus this real entrepreneurial drive.
That's incredible output. What fosters that alongside the startup focus?
Well, part of it's the network. Their alumni are seriously successful. Colin Huang, who founded Pinduoduo, ZJU alum.
Okay, big name.
And 3 of Hangzhou's 6 little dragons, these really hot up-and-coming startups, were also founded by ZJU grads.
Right, so a powerful network effect. But what about the culture inside the university? You said it was different.
It really is. Many traditional universities in China can be quite rigid, hierarchical. ZJU feels different. They actively encourage students to, well, try stuff. Cross-disciplinary projects, startup competitions, and they explicitly talk about having a mistake-forgiving culture. The idea is just give it a shot, see what happens, learn from it. Even for faculty, they're encouraged to commercialize inventions, push things out of the lab.
That mistake-forgiving part.
Oh,
it sounds so much like the Silicon Valley ethos, right? Where failure is almost seen as a badge of honor because it means you try something ambitious.
That's exactly the parallel. And people at ZJU told me explicitly their goal isn't just to be like Peking or Tsinghua, China's other top unis. They actively look towards Stanford as a model.
Interesting. So ZJU is clearly vital. But Hangzhou's tech scene can't just be the university, can it? Silicon Valley is a whole ecosystem.
Oh, definitely not just ZJU. It's a crucial piece, but just one piece. I spoke with Zhang Ji. She's a ZJU alumna herself, now runs an incubator there.
Okay, what was her take?
She put it really well. She said, innovation isn't something you can plan. It's not a top-down thing. She sees it as organic. Individuals break out, form groups. Those groups build a reputation. It's bottom-up growth, trial and error, not some grand master plan.
That fits the Jack Ma story perfectly, doesn't it? He didn't even go to ZJU. He went to Hangzhou Normal University.
Right.
And started Alibaba in his apartment like those American garage legends. It points to that can-do spirit again. And he definitely failed elsewhere first before hitting it big in Hangzhou.
Exactly. The perseverance is key. And the local government seems to have nurtured that. There's this story, maybe an urban legend. Zhang Ji wasn't sure if it's 100% true, but everyone tells it.
Go on.
About the mayor back in 1999. Jack Ma wants to register Alibaba, but it's in a residential building, which was weird then. And the mayor supposedly said, I hear in Silicon Valley they run companies out of garages, so why not here?
Huh? True or not, it makes a point.
It perfectly illustrates the local government's attitude, right? Early on, and seemingly consistently, they've been open to unconventional ideas. They're known for being relaxed and supportive.
How does that translate practically?
Well, concrete things like tax breaks for high-tech firms, investment schemes like actual cash for PhDs starting companies. But maybe even more importantly, people say there's just less bureaucracy. You don't need the same level of complex relationship building as in some other parts of China to get things approved. Officials are known for just getting stuff done.
That sounds like a massive advantage for entrepreneurs, just being able to move faster. Does the geography play a role too? Zhejiang province, where Hangzhou is, has always been commercial, right? Far from the capital, near the coast.
Absolutely, geography matters. Zhejiang has centuries of history as a place of commerce, private enterprise. And Hangzhou specifically was, in a way, lucky in the 20th century.
Lucky how?
Because the state's Central Economic Plan didn't put many massive state-owned enterprises there. So when market reforms kicked in, there was just more space, more room for private firms to pop up and thrive compared to, say, parts of northern China dominated by big, slower state companies.
Okay, so putting it all together, the university, the bottom-up culture, the support of local government, the history, the geography, what does this mean going forward? Are we going to see more DeepSeeks coming out of Hangzhou?
Zhang Ye, the incubator head, definitely thinks so. She used another Chinese saying, Wang Ho, Jiang Sheng Ning Yu, Zhang Hu.
Which means?
Broadly, like you don't need noble birth to succeed. Anyone can make it. Her point was that real success needs a competitive environment. Those 6 little dragon startups succeeding now, they came from a pool of maybe 6,000 trying.
Wow, 6 from 6,000.
Yeah, it's about volume, lots of attempts, knowing many will fail, but encouraging the next wave to try. That's different from a model where the state tries to just pick a winner from the start, which often doesn't work out.
So the Hangzhou model, if you can call it that, isn't easily copied.
It seems not. It's this specific cocktail of things, you know? The university, the government style, the organic growth, the history. It's hard to just replicate that recipe elsewhere. Maybe the key ingredient is just less direct intervention, more open space.
Plus momentum, right? Success breeds success.
Exactly. There's a clustering effect now. Talent wants to be there. It creates this virtuous cycle.
Okay, so it's unique, hard to copy.
Yeah.
But compared to, say, the original Silicon Valley, what are Hangzhou's limitations? Where does it maybe fall short?
I think the main difference right now is global talent attraction. Silicon Valley pulls in top minds from literally everywhere on the planet. Hangzhou is incredibly effective at attracting the best from within China, and that's a massive, incredibly talented pool, don't get me wrong.
But not quite that global magnet yet.
Not in the same way, no. And then there's always the factor of central policy. Hangzhou has its unique vibe, but it's still part of China. If national priorities shifted dramatically again regarding tech, well, that could impact things.
Right, that unpredictability.
But, and this is crucial, Chinese entrepreneurs are incredibly adaptable. They're very good at reading the signals, aligning with national goals, figuring out how to navigate the landscape and, stay in the game.
That adaptability sounds key.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, could we see a kind of reverse brain drain? With things getting maybe more difficult or less welcoming for Chinese scholars overseas, could more top talent return to places like Hangzhou? We're already seeing some high-profile mathematicians going back.
That's a really interesting point. And yes, it's definitely a possibility. We are seeing some of that already. If the environment in, say, the US or Europe becomes less welcoming, intentionally or not, then yes, the pull to return to dynamic places like Hangzhou could become much stronger. That could turbocharge things even further.
Fascinating. So wrapping it up, should we expect more DeepSeeks? More big innovations from Hangzhou?
Based on everything we've seen, I'd say yes. China's tech scene has consistently surprised outsiders over the past decade or so. DeepSeek wasn't just a fluke or one brilliant person. It came out of this whole interconnected system. The university, the entrepreneurs, the local support, that ecosystem is still there, still buzzing. So yeah, I think more significant innovation is very likely.
What a fascinating deep dive. It really paints a picture of Hangzhou not just as a place with history, but this incredibly dynamic, modern tech hub driven by organic growth, that unique university culture embracing trial and error, support of local government, and just this deep entrepreneurial streak. It's quite the mix.
It really is. And maybe that leaves you, our listener, with a question to ponder. Given this unique cocktail of factors in Hangzhou and that adaptable culture we talked about, what kinds of global tech trends might bubble up from there next? How could innovations from that region start reshaping industries or parts of our daily lives we maybe take for granted right now?
That's a great thought to end on, something for all of us to keep an eye on. Thanks so much for joining us on the Deep Dive today. We hope you keep digging into fascinating topics yourselves. Catch you next time.